Okay, good to go.
Good morning. Could everybody online see and hear me okay? Great, thank you. We'll officially open today's meeting at 9:34 a.m. and I would like to acknowledge we are hosting this meeting on the traditional land of the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. We acknowledge the Aboriginal people as the traditional custodians of Western Australia, pay respect to elders past and present, and the ongoing connection between people, land, waters and community. This meeting will be run in accordance with DAP Standing Orders 2024 under the Planning and Development DAP Regulations 2011. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with the regulations. Sorry, Councillor Smith.
Sorry, I just wanted to say that the quality of the video and sound is coming across quite inhibited. I can still make you, but it's not great. So just wanted to let you know.
Thank you. We have some support here with us and we'll try at our end. If the sound drops out and you're unable to hear or see clearly, let me know or let us know. And we have a number of people in the room. If I don't pick it up, others will notice. So if you can just let us know.
Thank you.
Are you okay? Yes. We have Councillor Syed Kutsia.
I have a similar problem as well, so just letting you know.
Okay, thank you for both of you. If it does cause a problem, please let us know. I will continue with the opening declarations and information. This meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the DAP website in accordance with Regulation 42A of the Planning and Development DAP Regulations 2011. Panel members may refer to technical devices throughout the meeting to assist them in considering the information before them. Today's panel is made up of 5 members. Online we have member Councillor Bronwyn Smith, welcome, from City of Wanneroo. We have member Councillor Syed Kutsia from City of Wanneroo as well, welcome. To my immediate left we have the Deputy Presiding Member Dale Page. To my immediate right we have Luigi Alessandro, Specialist Member. My name is Francesca Lafanti, Presiding Member. We also have officers online from the City of Wanneroo, Richard Dimisanos, I think that's how you pronounce it, and Nick DeVecchius. We also have applicants in the room, Mr. Alessandro Stagno. We have 2 apologies for today's meeting, Jackie Huntley and Nat Heathridge from the City of Wanneroo. I have no members on leave of absence. This DAP meeting, as well as other DAP meetings, the minutes will be available on the website. We will move forward to part of our agenda through the City of Wanneroo. Members, can I have a show of hands that you've duly considered all the documentation contained in Part B of the agenda and Part B related information? That is unanimous for the minute taker. Members online, are you able to hear what's happening? Great, thank you. Members, are there any disclosures in relation to this meeting? I'll first go to members online and ask, was this considered at all through Council Deputy? No, okay. Do you have any disclosures in relation to this item? Thank you. Members in the room, are there any disclosures? There are no disclosures for the minute taker. We will move forward to our application. It's a Form 1 application, Lot 300, 917 Wanneroo Road in Wanneroo for a fast food outlet. We have one presenter here in the room with us, Mr. Alessandro Stagno. As you are aware, in accordance with Standing Orders 2024, Clause 4.8.2, your presentation is limited to 3 minutes. I know it is only a short presentation. I will hand over to you to present. Following your presentation, the members will be able to ask questions to you. Following that, we will go to officers from the City of Wanneroo for questions as well. Panel members, as is the normal case, you can ask questions you can go back to the applicant should you have further questions while we move to officers. Handing over to yourself.
We're just going to pause for a second. We're just going to swap to the internet Wi-Fi because I think that may be why the issue is.
We're just swapping to the internet Wi-Fi to see if that improves for yourselves.
Can everybody hear us clearly again? Yeah, okay.
Thank you. We will now continue with the meeting. Over to yourself, Alessandro.
Thank you very much, Presiding Member. Good morning, panel members. Good morning, City Wanneroo officers. I'm the applicant of the fast food outlet proposed at 917 Wanneroo Road. Not a heap to say. The City of Wanneroo has prepared a very comprehensive RAR. They've recommended approval. The land use that's been proposed is commercial in nature and the land is zone commercial, and the proposal also complements a fast food outlet which is currently being constructed on adjoining 915 Wanneroo Road at the moment. We're not requesting any modifications to the conditions in the city's recommendation at this point in time. More than happy to answer any questions that the panel may have.
Thank you. Panel members, are there any questions to the applicant? Members in the room, are there any questions to the applicant?
No.
I have a question to you. My question is probably more around traffic. I know there's the technical note has answered a number of those questions. The TIS and the technical note, and I think the officers have had a similar question, talks about the trip rate, and they talk about it in a land use classification as being a second tier fast food outlet. Yep. Now, this has been referred to in the technical note as well as the traffic impact statement. And I'm interested in understanding how, and they also refer to this as being the same calculation or the same methodology used for the fast food outlets being built. My question essentially is, planning makes no distinction in land use between a first and second tier, and I don't know what the difference is.
Yeah.
And my question therefore goes to, what is the rationale of that in the context of planning land use?
Sure.
Because you could have any number of what may be termed one tier one.
Yeah, the differentiation there is about the trip generation rates that they use. So I don't think it's entirely relevant to the land use that's been proposed through the planning framework. So first tier fast food outlets would be, I can't really name names, but your burger operators and your, very, very high volume national branded operators.
Yep.
Second tier are the ones that don't sell burgers and might sell things like chicken. For example, the fast outlet's being constructed next door as a KFC. So that has been assessed as a second tier because it's not a high volume fast food outlet like a, Golden Arches type operator would be. So that's a differentiation. And then because they have trip generation rates for first and second tier, they've adopted the rates for this one as a second tier because that's who the operator will eventually be.
So that leads me to, I suppose, my second specific question, which is, what is the preventative action that would result in a tier 2 development, physical form, going to tier 1? There's no planning trigger
Right.
that would therefore result in a requirement for trip generation to be reassessed. So you could, in this case, you can get potentially an approval for a second tier, and go to tier 1. What is the impact, given that, as I've already said, planning land use doesn't distinguish, and the mechanism for there, in the planning system anyway, is no mechanism for an additional evaluation should the land use go from tier 1 to tier 2.
Sure.
So my question goes back to, what is the resultant impact in the context of land use?
So I think to answer that question in a practical way, the development design and drawings that have been put forward for approval are based on the format of the second tier operator. So if this were to change to a top tier operator, the format would need to change, likely the footprint would need to change, and then those things would be accessible. So a key difference would be that the footprint of this particular fast food outlet is quite small. If a top tier operator were to be proposed, they'd have a much larger development footprint or a building footprint, and then the trip generation is calculated based on square meterage. So that would be the catch or the stop, because that would then have to be reassessed based on the increased footprint area and the different format.
Thank you. My second question goes to the crossovers and access points. Having been out that site and drove all around it, the Noonan Street access and entry is quite easy to manoeuvre in. The first entrance off Wanneroo Road into site is a difficult turn in a sedan. It's a regular car.
Right.
The traffic modelling shows the crossover, the almost a conflict point between vehicles turning in from that crossover and then swinging left to go to the drive-through, and vehicles coming out of the drive-through to turn to get left out of that crossover. I know your report says predominantly everyone's going to use the bottom two crossovers, which is Noonan Street and this one. Can you speak to that conflict? These two questions are exactly the same as I have to officers. The plan in the TIS shows the traffic movement as essentially crossing over. My driving through the site, I was the only car that could make that manoeuvre from this subject site through that little tiny kind of chicane setup to then swing up the ramp to turn left out of the site on Wanneroo Road. So I'm interested in hearing your comments on that. And I have exactly the same comments to officers, because you've accepted the findings and outcomes of the TIS and the technical note. Can you speak to that, please?
Yeah, sure. Thanks for the question. I guess firstly, it's an existing situation because there's already a building and the curb line is very similar to, the existing curb line is very similar to the curb line that's part of the development. It's operated since, I think, the 90s up to this point, and I don't think there's been any reported incidents or issues within the car parking area that we're aware of. The sweat paths within the TIS show, comfortable space available for vehicles to manoeuvre in and out. I think it would just be a situation of, internal traffic management. If two vehicles were to come from opposite directions at the same time, I think good practice would be that, space is conserved for whoever's got right of way to start with, and then a driver would have to yield, which is not an uncommon situation in a lot of these commercial developments that have a number of land uses and car parks are shared between different vehicles.
So in the context of the peak periods, and appreciating that there'll be difficulty in backing up on Wanneroo Road to swing in, do you have any comment about your peak period movement, which we've got essentially two fast food outlets, this one and one in construction? Has that been modelled, that peak hour movement onto Wanneroo, in and out of Wanneroo Road, for this and other activities that occur on the site? And I know, whilst you were talking about this proposal, the other activities include your comment about an existing approved fast food outlet.
Yes, although because these land uses are all established in sequence, I think there's going to be proportions of traffic that exit from Noonan Drive versus proportions of traffic that would exit to Wanneroo Road, keeping in mind that it's a left in, left out crossover to Wanneroo Road on the northern side. So there'll be some vehicles that want to travel southward, so then they'd circle back onto Noonan Drive to exit the site. There's also the rear service corridor on the western side that vehicles can use if they wanted to proceed north and use a different crossover on the northern side as well. So I think dispersion of vehicles, peak hour vehicles won't all be concentrated at this particular Wanneroo Road crossover because there are many other options for people to get out at the site.
Thank you. They were only my only questions at this juncture. Is there any further questions from panel members? If not, thank you for your presentation. We will now move to officers. Officers, I can see you both online. Can you clearly see and hear us? Officers, would you like to make any comment in relation to the RA and any comment in relation to the discussions that we've had already?
Look, we don't have a lot of comments. I think that the RA itself speaks for our position, but we're generally obviously supportive of the development subject to the conditions that we've recommended. Feel that it's appropriate and it's appropriately addressed the relevant considerations, including traffic. Just touching on some of the discussion that we've had already in relation to the access points. The applicant has, I guess, submitted a traffic impact statement that was referred to our traffic department. The traffic department reviewed the relevant access points, the access and egress of the site, and was satisfied that it satisfied the relevant standards. They didn't raise any concerns with the left in, left out on Wanneroo Road, specifically the peak hour traffic, as the applicant has already stated, would be distributed among the various crossovers and ins and outs of the site. So we were comfortable with the traffic outcomes.
Thank you. Panel members, do you have any questions to city officers? Yes.
Yes,
Member Dale Page.
Just picking up on one of the questions that the presiding member had of the applicant, and you've talked about traffic a little bit there, but would there be any other issue from your point of view if the proposed Tier 2 fast food outlet converted to a Tier 1 in the future? Do you agree with the applicant that further approval would likely be required?
I think that the discussion around the size of the building and the design of the building being purpose-built for a Tier 2 operation is plausible and is very likely that a Tier 2 moving to a Tier 1 would require physical modifications to the building and therefore reassessment of the development.
Great, okay, thank you. Just out of curiosity, there are the fast food outlets in the vicinity and I know the area pretty well, but are they also 24-hour outlets?
I'm not sure off the top of my head if they are 24 hours, I'm sorry.
I can assist with that. I'm able to. The KFC next door is approved for 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. That's because there's no KFC that operates 24 hours. There's a 7-Eleven, which I worked on many years ago, which exists, I think, 100 metres north in the same block, and that's 24/7.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Just a couple more if that's okay. So condition 12 requires lighting to be installed to pathways and parking areas, but I don't see any lighting on the development plans in the agenda. Do you require submission of a lighting plan or lighting details with the building permit application, or are you comfortable that lighting is fine wherever it is installed as long as it meets the Australian standards?
So that's correct. The condition isn't written to be, I guess, to our satisfaction necessarily, but it is required to meet the Australian standards. We, I guess, trust that as part of the development, it will be installed. If for some reason there was an issue with the lighting or there was lack of visibility at the site and we were notified, we could enforce the condition. A lighting plan isn't required to be submitted prior to, I guess, a building permit.
Okay, all right, but would it be useful if the details of the lighting would need to be, I guess?
I mean, we could have a plan, but we don't necessarily require it. It's not a standard for us to require the lighting plan to be provided prior to. The condition is generally complied with and is to the Australian standard, noting that that most of these operators install lighting anyway in order to assist with wayfinding and navigation of the site.
Okay. There are also no signage details on the development plans, and you haven't included any conditions or advice notes relating to signage. Is that deliberate, or would you like us to include an additional condition that signage doesn't form part of the approval and further approval will be required unless specifically exempt from the provisions of a local planning policy?
That would be, for us, would be more of a question maybe posed to the applicant. The signage would be require a development application anyway, unless exempt, which would be unlikely for most of these developments. So a further development application for signage would be required. I wouldn't mind knowing if the applicant would be okay with a condition for a signage strategy or a signage plan or something along those lines. Otherwise, I assume there'll be a development application for that later.
Okay, thanks. I'm not specifically asking about a signage plan or strategy. Your conditions are just silent on signage, so that's why I was asking if there was the need for condition relating to signage. And I know that future signage will require a development approval, but sometimes it's a point of contention if it's not captured within the conditions. But you've answered my question, so thank you.
Any further questions?
No.
Any further questions from panel members?
No, thank you.
Thank you. If there are no further questions, we will move to the agenda. There is a recommendation at the beginning of the agenda. The recommendation is for approval with a series of conditions. Is there a mover of the recommendation as written in the agenda? It is moved. Councillor Sonnet Coetzee, I beg your pardon, and it is seconded Dale Page. Would the mover like to speak to the item?
I would only say I'm happy with the recommendation and all the conditions of it. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to the motion?
Yes, thank you, Presiding Member. I will support the recommendation for approval, but before talking to the substantive motion, I would like to move a short series of amendments, if that's okay.
Yes.
Amendment 1 would be to amend Condition 8, and Condition 8 relates to the schedule of colours and materials, and I would like to add the words "and thereafter maintained in accordance with the approved schedule unless otherwise approved by the city" at the end of the condition. The condition will then read, prior to lodgement of a building permit, a detailed schedule of external finishes, including materials, colour schemes and details, must be submitted and approved by the city. The development must be finished in accordance with the approved schedule. Ash? In accordance with the approved schedule and thereafter maintained in accordance with the approved schedule unless otherwise approved by the city.
That is moved. Is there a seconder for Amendment 1? It is seconded. Member Sonnet Coetzee.
Thank you. The reason I'd like to move this amendment is the condition adequately deals with the requirement for the schedule and for that schedule to be implemented. I'm just mindful that on occasion, 10 years down the line, maintenance needs to occur to a building, and sometimes the same schedule of colours and materials are not available. So this condition or the additional wording enables some minor deviation in the future to the approved finishes and colour schemes with the approval of the city.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to Amendment 1?
I'm happy with what has been said.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers, members who wish to speak on Amendment 1? If there are no speakers, would you like a right of reply? We are going to the vote on Amendment 1. All those in favour? It is carried unanimously. Would you like to continue speaking?
Yes, please. Amendment 2 would be to amend Condition 12 to specify a requirement for submission of lighting details with the building permit application. The amended condition would then read, details of all lighting to be installed shall be provided with the building permit application and be designed in accordance with Australian standards for control of obtrusive effects of outdoor lighting. Lighting must then be installed to pathways and car parking areas in accordance with the plans approved by the city and must be internally directed to not overspill into nearby lots. All floodlights shall be hooded to eliminate disturbance to occupants on surrounding properties.
Is there a seconder for Amendment 2? It is seconded. Councillor Sonnet Coetzee.
Thank you, Presiding Member. Look, the rationale for that is there's currently no lighting detail provided, and although the condition does specify it needs to be in accordance with Australian standards, lighting does have the ability to impact particularly surrounding residential neighbours. So the amended wording really just ensures the applicant is aware that details of proposed lighting must be submitted to the city for approval in conjunction with the building permit application, and that the lighting must then be installed in accordance with the approved plans. Just gives the city the ability to review those details before the lighting is installed.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to this?
I agree with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers on Amendment 2? If there are no other speakers, do you wish to speak further?
No, nothing further on that.
We are going to the vote on Amendment 2 to Condition 12. All those in favour? Is carried unanimously.
Thank you, Presiding Member. And then I'd like to include an additional condition relating to signage. The condition would read, no signage forms part of the approval for the fast food outlet. Further approval will be required from the city for any signage unless specifically exempt under the provisions of a relevant local planning policy.
Thank you. Is there a seconder for Amendment 3, new condition on signage? It is seconded by Member Sonnet Coetzee.
Thank you. Look, the reason for that is there's currently no reference to signage in the conditions or advice notes attached to the approval. Signage does have the potential to affect streetscape amenity or the amenity of adjoining residential properties. The additional condition just ensures the applicant owner is aware of the need for further approval for any signage. Noting that the applicant team is a big one, Mr. Stanier may be well aware of that requirement, but I have seen instances in other areas where signage is installed because it's not specifically outlined in the conditions that it needs to be dealt with as a separate application. So this is just a safeguard for that.
Thank you. Would the seconder like to speak to Amendment 3?
No, it was all covered. Good. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members wish to speak to Amendment 3? Would you like a vote reply? Thank you. We are going to the vote on Amendment 3 for a new condition. All those in favour? It is carried unanimously. Mem, would you like to continue speaking?
Yes, I will. Thank you. So reverting to the substantive motion, I am happy to support the application on the basis it is quite a straightforward proposal that replaces other commercial uses in a zone that is appropriate for the use. It aligns closely with all relevant scheme provisions except for the width of a landscape strip on the street, which already exists and will be improved by the proposal. The new building will freshen and enhance the streetscapes, and the increased setbacks and additional landscaping will contribute positively to the area. I note there were some concerns raised in a small handful of objections to the proposal, but the issues of proliferation of fast food outlets and impact on small businesses are not matters that this panel could reasonably use as reasons not to support this application. And the concerns of traffic and amenity issues have been appropriately responded to in the responsible authority report, in my view, and through recommended conditions of approval or in the supporting technical documents that were provided with the application. So happy to support. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers who wish to speak on the substantive motion? I will speak to the substantive motion. I agree with the proposal. I concur with the comments made by the Deputy Presiding Member, Dale Page. From my perspective, the proposal is consistent with the planning framework, including DPS 2 and the commercial zoning, and I note that the RA provides commentary on the agreed Wanneroo Town Centre Structure Plan 23. Being a discretionary use for this particular site, I'm comfortable that the proposal is compatible with the zone objectives as well as the locational context. Given due regard to the submissions, particularly the interface with the adjoining residential area, and I'm comfortable that the design, form and scale, as well as the treatments associated with it, including conditions, appropriately address amenity issues relating to this proposal. And I note there is controls and conditions relating to noise. Noise has been assessed and that there'll be consideration given as part of the design, as well as the odour has been addressed as part of the waste management plan. And I'm comfortable that this proposal is appropriately in this location, noting that it does adjoin an existing, previously approved similar activity. As I've already raised and discussed today's meeting, the issue regarding vehicle access, and I'm satisfied that the information provided, as well as the assessment undertaken by both city officers as well as comments from Main Roads, that the proposal in terms of its interface with Wanneroo Road is acceptable and will not cause undue impact in terms of the functioning of that road, as well as the commentary around the movement of the site, which includes a number of access points to Wanneroo Road, Noonan Street and throughout the site. I'm comfortable that is appropriate in this context. Those are my comments. If there are no other comments, I will move back to the mover for right of reply, and that is Councillor Sonnet Coetzee. Do you wish to make any comments in right of reply? We have closed debate. We are now going to the vote on the substantive motion. All those in favour? It is carried unanimously. We move back to the agenda. There are no Form 2 applications, nor are there any Section 31 SAT reconsiderations. We have listed in our agenda some SAT applications, none of which relate to the City of Wanneroo, and accordingly I close today's meeting at 10:05 a.m. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.